Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the Marketing Matters podcast. My name is Michael Christmas.
And I'm Catherine Taylor, and we're here to talk all things marketing with industry experts that have some great marketing insights to share with all of you budding marketers out there.
That's right. This podcast is made with our network, for our network, and we're very proud to be connected with so many talented professionals that we wanted to have this podcast as a platform to discuss your journeys and provide some inspiration and conversation topics so we can all keep engaging with each other.
Today, we are lucky enough to be having a chat with the lovely Keirice Farley, who is a customer experience strategist and marketing automation specialist. Hello, Keirice, and welcome to the Marketing Matters podcast. How are you today?
Very good, thank you. Thank you so much for having me on a beautiful wintry Melbourne day. It's brightening up my morning by talking to you both.
That's good. It is a classic Melbourne weather day today, so all you Melburnians will know what that means. But now you've got some great customer focus in your attitude and your experience, and also a strong technical background, which we'll discuss. But as usual, let's kick off with how you first got into marketing and tell us a bit about an overview of your career.
Yeah, I guess my very first venture into marketing technology and coding and programming is, like a lot of people, it's sitting in MySpace and coding your own page and adding loops of music that just will not end. And that's kind of how I started, was just by pimping my MySpace page. And, I didn't really get too far into my kind of background in coding until I did a little bit of tech in high school, but I think we'll talk a little bit maybe about it later, about how women are kind of gendered out of technology. And I kind of just saw technology like, it was a boys' subject, and I chose not to pursue it then, but I ended up, going back into it when I went into my second uni degree. I started out wanting to do aviation, but I missed out by a couple of points. So I thought, the second best choice is journalism. So I went and did that for a year, and it turned out that I absolutely hated it. So I moved into multimedia, which made more sense because I was able to actually physically build things. And that was where I found my passion for technology and, understanding how things worked. I was always obsessed with video games and the internet in the early consumer days of the 90s. So it kind of makes a lot of sense now that with that obsession as a kid, that I actually fell into technology in a way. So I went into multimedia and I was able to learn quite a lot of different things. So I had a chance to learn graphic design, filming, HTML. I learned 3D modeling, game design, and all sorts of different things. And surprisingly enough, the two subjects that I studied in uni was HTML and UX design, which has kind of become a big part of my everyday, which, I didn't suspect at the time. I actually didn't think I would ever get employed with like the mixed bag of different skills that I'd had. But even funnier today is knowing that the basis of a lot of work I do is based on code. But I actually, in my first year of uni, I actually failed HTML in the subject. And I had to retake it the next semester because I thought that you could wing it. Turns out, like any language, you can't really wing it. It's not a fake it till you make it kind of subject. So I came back even more determined in the next semester, and I took it again, and I put a lot more time into it. And I actually, I really enjoyed it. And I was like, why didn't I just put this effort in the first place? And I actually, did a really great project in the end. And then I kind of, was working part-time, and I was working within a theatre company in ticketing. And I, kind of didn't really know where I wanted my career to go, because as I said, I didn't really know, where I could get employed with all the skills that I had. And I kind of fell into my first more generalized marketing role by accident, because my then future boss, I was having a meeting with him about applying for like a box office manager role when I was just a supervisor. And he said, you know what, I think there's a better place for you. Give me a couple of weeks and I'll come back to you. And so a couple of weeks later, he had said, based on the different skills that you've got, like you can design, you can code, you can build emails, would you be interested in taking a role in the main office and kind of be like the the be all tech and marketing guru. And I said, well, I mean, why not? So that's kind of like I was thrown into the deep end in generalized marketing. And, I was building emails. I was maintaining the CMS of the website. I was segmenting databases from a ticketing database. And that was where I first learned about Salesforce Marketing Cloud, which is now the primary technology that I work in and platform. And I was building emails within a variation of that. And then after my generalized role, I actually went into a partner agency for Salesforce. And, without, if you don't use Salesforce products, you probably don't know too much about them, but there's so many companies that are actually powered by Salesforce. So if you talk to, a lot of people in business, they might use their CRM product like Salesforce, Sales Cloud and Community Cloud and other products, and Marketing Cloud specifically for me. But otherwise you wouldn't know too much about them. But so many companies are powered by it. And I just thought, wow, this is a whole, job economy that I would never have known about. And it was because of these accidental places I found myself in, and having the right mentors who kind of gave me the push that I needed. And it also meant that I had the opportunity to continually learn. And in marketing technology, as you guys would know, is that, the technology, it changes every day. So something that I've learned yesterday might be out of date today. So it helped fuel, my natural curiosity in learning how things work and constantly, learning as I go. And a lot of it was, learnt from trial and error and wanting to throw your laptop out the window, because there wasn't a great deal of documentation at the time. And a lot of it's, a lot of things that I've learned is from my fellow colleagues and the network that we've kind of created in the community. And so that's when I kind of first had my very first female mentor in marketing technology. So shout out to Kobe, who was my very first boss in this particular industry. And, she had a really great attitude around, who cares if people think that, coding and technology is for boys, like, bugger it, let's just do it. Like, let's figure all these things out ourselves, and we'll be able to, help out the companies that we work with. And, we've got such a unique perspective on things that, maybe the developers don't have. So that was when I started working on site with a lot of large retailers and actually being a part of, an extension of their team. And that was where I was, not only just building, landing pages and emails and, journeys and automations within Marketing Cloud. I actually learned how to strategize, and I was understanding the very delicate world of client relationship management, and actually building relationships with people and building trust so that they understand that you are the expert and the advice that you're giving them is based on your years of expertise, and it helps guide them so that they feel empowered. So that was when I kind of realized that, maybe there's a place that isn't just in physically building, emails and technology. It was actually about filling that gap between the marketing teams, the C-suite executives, and then also the developers themselves. Because I feel like sometimes there's a miscommunication that occurs between both parties. And I kind of felt myself, I was sitting in this really unique position where I can talk to both groups of people. So I'm going to put a lot more energy into strategy and actually being able to lead strategies for companies based on marketing automation technologies specifically, because the strategies that you build from an overarching perspective for a company is very different from this very specific area of marketing comms. So that's how I got more into the strategy space from that. But all of these, different building blocks occurred throughout my journey that at the time I thought were just random circumstances, but they've all started to kind of merge as time has gone on. And I'm very fortunate that I had, the right support people, and I had, a really great, teams around me that helped support me when I was learning things. And whenever I got questions, there's ex-colleagues, to this day that I call upon and say, hey, I've got this problem with this line of code, or I've got a problem with this rendering issue. Hey, have you, run into this same problem? And everyone is really accommodating and so open to sharing information with one another. And I think that that's, you know, the best part of working in marketing technology is that, you know, that group of people that become your kind of your marketing tech family that helps you when you get stuck in a hole with problems that you're trying to solve.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, these Martech type roles now are so much more important, and it's still, the relevance is still growing. And I think, you know, obviously with everything that's happened even at the moment, you know, it's shone even a bigger light on how important and crucial they are. Just to go back to a point that you sort of touched on earlier, you know, the IT industry is sort of definitely more of a male dominant space, but luckily we are seeing a growing female presence. So just tell us a little bit more about, you know, your sort of attraction to the technical environment.
Yeah, so I mean, for me, like I, you know, didn't have as many you know, female mentors, you know, when I first kind of started, but, you know, I think I just had to become, you know, my own mentor for others. So I was really fortunate that I did have a boss that was female in technology, but I do really feel that women tend to not think about technology as a career path because they're not picking up those subjects in school. They're feeling as though, you know, it's not a space that is welcoming for them. But luckily, you know, there are groups, you know, like Code Like a Girl and you know, other international groups that are actually encouraging, you know, young women into learning programming languages and being able to utilize technologies such as Salesforce and Marketing Cloud. Because, you know, I think there's that barrier of thinking that, oh, you know, it's not for me. But actually, I think that women are quite unique problem solvers, and having that diversity in how we create solutions for people and for our customers, it's really important to have a more diverse view of who is actually creating, you know, not only communications and technology, but and the messaging, but also the technologies themselves. You know, I think that, you know, even just in general as humans, like, you know, we don't think like machines, and that's our power. You know, if we can free up our time on repetitive tasks, we can actually focus more on the bigger picture and building solutions that actually meet the needs of your users and your customers. For me, you know, I kind of thought, you know, I don't really care if, you know, it's considered more of a male industry. I'm just going to do it anyway. And, you know, my parents will attest to this, that if you say I can't do something, then I'll probably go and try to prove you wrong, and I'll just give it a go anyway. But, you know, in history, I think, you know, we've kind of been, you know, written out of the history of technology quite a lot. I mean, some of the best minds in technology, you know, were female. Like you've got, you know, Dr. Grace Hopper, who, you know, has built, you know, computer systems. You know, the actress Hedy Lamarr, who essentially with her colleague created the basis of what has now become Wi-Fi. You've got Edith Windsor, who was one of the first female in tech in IBM. You've got Katherine, you know, Johnson, who was a part of the, you know, Hidden Figures, who got, you know, Man on the Moon. There's so many women who were working in technology, but I guess they weren't given the platform and the power to, you know, say that this is our place, this is where we belong. We don't just belong, you know, in the home, and, you know, we don't belong in just doing menial tasks. We actually are here to solve really big problems because we look at the world from such a different perspective. And I think this is really, really beautifully demonstrated in a short documentary that's on Facebook Watch, which was built with Code Like a Girl and a couple other organizations around you know, the basis of the JPEG and the technology behind that. It was it's a documentary called Losing Lena, and it's actually based on this Swedish Playboy model, and this image of her was actually used as a basis to test the JPEG technology. So it was within like a, you know, a small group of developers who were male, and I thought, hey, this, you know, we'll just use this this image to test the technology, and that has become like a test image that exists on the internet, you know, ever since, you know, I think it was like the 1960s or 70s. And I think that added to that nature of not feeling safe or included in technology. which has, you've seen a downfall of, what happens when you don't have diversity in your testing, not only in gender, but in, your background culturally, your religions, your sexual orientation, or your gender. It's gone to show that, maybe we do need more diverse voices in technology, catering to, more than just one group of people. You need to actually involve more. So I don't know if you've known about, the history of facial recognition technology, where they had trouble actually identifying darker skin tones because they weren't actually testing with people who were, diverse in their background. So it goes to show that, without diversity, we're building solutions for, user and customer problems that actually don't meet the needs of the unique people who are on the other side of them.
I'm definitely, as a recruiter that used to do some IT recruitment in the past, would love to see some more female programmers in the market. And Keirice, I know that you do already do some mentoring with RMIT Online, and you're definitely a great industry mentor already, but it's nice to see a lot of encouragement coming from you and your personal experiences. In the current climate, we're seeing a really positive shift in the market lately, heading closer to the new financial year. So that's a bit of positivity and news for everyone. We're seeing a lot of growth in the roles being released, or people talking at least more positively about regrowing their teams and getting moving, and definitely seeing the light at the end of the tunnel as we head towards the new financial year. Are you seeing a shift in how people are interacting with businesses in recent times?
Yeah, I think that, the current time that we're in, it just goes to show that sometimes limitations can actually foster great innovation. If you feel like your opportunities are endless, then it makes it really hard to focus on what is important. So what is a problem that you want to solve? Where are the opportunities for your business? And I think it's allowed businesses to kind of look introspectively a little bit more than kind of just putting out fires as they happen. They're having to stop and sit with themselves and go, why are people engaging with us? Why is our company important to people? But also what, putting yourselves in the customer's shoes, like really putting yourself there, like what do they want? What do they actually need? What does our business offer them that's maybe not helpful at this time? Let's pull that, but then let's shift the messaging and push it into more around awareness and loyalty. What can we give people that is low cost to us as a business, but high value to a customer? Whether that's, information, it's, a service or a product. We can only do so much as businesses. We don't have a playbook for, a pandemic playbook, but if we just stop and think about the basics, it's, how do we show compassion and empathy to our customers and let them know that we're here to give them what they actually need. It's not a case of, hey, this pandemic sucks, but like buy our product. It's kind of like slimy salesman kind of energy. We have to just be really realistic that there's more people in front of computers and they're sitting and they're actually engaging more in communication. So you have to be really thoughtful about how you communicate to them and how you're using your marketing channels. Competition for the space is kind of, lowered while people are trying to get their ducks in a row and understand, okay, what is our strategy right now? And it's kind of counterintuitive because this is a great opportunity to build awareness, and marketing is the group of people that builds that funnel that creates opportunities for loyalty and for sales of your product and services. And in order to do that at the moment, we just have to get in front of customers and just talk to them honestly and in a transparent way. And, rather than not acknowledging that what is happening is actually happening, acknowledge that there are people that are still willing to spend money, but they're just going to be a little bit more mindful about how they spend it and who they spend it with. So if they align more personally with you as a brand, they're going to be more likely to spend money with you during this period. But even so, more after this period, which you can see in history has occurred, during the global financial crisis, in the automotive industry, notably went down in sales because people weren't buying cars because there was such uncertainty in the job market and the economy. But Hyundai, who was is considered a reliable Korean brand, but they weren't a luxury car, and luxury cars were probably the first things that were off the wish list during that time. And they had put a lot of thought into how to communicate to their customers, and they were creating awareness during that period of time. And they were creating programs like their assurance program, which was an opportunity for anyone who was dealing with hardship that they could actually pause their repayments for their car. And so, that immediately alleviates a really big pain point and a friction point for someone who is going through a time of uncertainty, and especially financial uncertainty. And they're actually listening to the customers about what was important to them at that moment. And then obviously at that time, they, after the GFC had done its damage, and people were starting to have dispensable income, they were seriously considering Hyundai as a brand to buy. And they increased their sales after what would be considered the absolute worst time for a company such as that. So there are opportunities that sit within the time that we are. And I've got a local florist around the corner that within, I think, a couple of weeks into March, they had pivoted and they had started doing fruit and delivery boxes, because they had the access to these fresh produce farmers. And just seeing even just a small company do that was incredible. It's like, okay, what can I do and what can I give to my customers that they need right now, as well as it being authentic in the way in which we communicate it. It just goes to show that, these limitations create innovation. And I think it's gone to show that the companies that have stayed quiet, they've maybe missed out on a really big opportunity because they've pulled their spend, they've been frozen by what's happening in the world. But the ones that are being open and honest, and they're pivoting so that they can meet their customers' needs, they're the ones that are really going to excel. And from a customer perspective, you look at these companies and go, wow, they actually really care about me, and they're giving me what is important to me right now, and they're willing to move, and they're agile enough that they can, they don't have to develop, for months at a time and create this perfect solution. They're just going to give it a go, and they're going to use it as a proof of concept, and they're going to optimize it over time. I think that, there's a nature in which in business, and especially in marketing, that we want everything to be perfect, and we're too afraid, to send out something into the general public until it's absolutely, pixel perfect. But in testing, that's where you actually understand what the customers are engaging with and what is important, and maybe what you need to abandon and stop putting energy into. And that's a really important way in which I like to consult, from a strategic point of view, and especially in marketing technology, is actually bringing those people together, because too many solutions are built from one team, and it's put out to market, and it hasn't actually delivered what the wider team needs or the customer needs. Plenty of systems have been built by IT, but marketing haven't been involved, customer service haven't been involved in the process of co-designing something. And they've maybe spent 2 years on this really beefed up tech solution, but it actually doesn't deliver what it needs to deliver. And that's a really big missed opportunity. And I think the more that we start creating cross-functional teams, and not just seeing us as this is marketing, stay in your lane, this is IT, this is customer service, this is C-suite, and actually just removing that and creating the cross-functional teams that actually can deliver great customer experiences. Because without understanding, the people who are on the front lines, who are really close to your customers, and, not also being on the other side, being able to talk to your CEOs and CMOs and CIOs and CTOs about what their objectives are, and, communicating their vision for 10 to 5 years, you can't truly deliver on exceptional experiences if you're not transparent and you're not communicating and you're not allowing people to buy into the journey.
Absolutely. And I really like your comment about limitations create innovation. And that actually leads me on to ask you about something that's going on with you right now, I believe, because for time restraints, we will have to wrap up in a second. But as limitations create innovation, I understand that you might be starting up your own agency soon. Tell us a little bit about where that's up to.
Yeah, so I mean, in a similar way in which some companies have dealt with, economic downturns, I see this as, an opportunity, because we're going to change the way in which we work within companies and the people that we turn to for advice and how quickly we want to move and need to move. So having the right voices, out there and in within your teams, I thought that it was a great opportunity for me to, jump out, on my own and give it a go. I, kind of thought about it, for the last few years. And I kind of just thought, it doesn't feel right. I don't feel ready yet. I need more experience. And, I kind of was reflecting on, how far I've come and all the different experiences that I've built on and the people that I've gone on to mentor myself. And I thought, what better time as any to take this as, an opportunity to shift the way I work and having that opportunity to get closer to my customers from start to finish. And so I thought, I'm going to give this a go, and I'm going to go out on my own, and I'm going to consult independently and, building on the experiences that I have and the knowledge I have in customer experience strategy and marketing automation. It's a space where there aren't a great amount of knowns in the wider marketing community. So being able to drive strategies for marketing technology is going to become more and more important. And I thought that, this is a great opportunity for me to get into this space. So I've kind of, decided, my company is going to be called Soka, which is my favorite Japanese phrase, which essentially just means, oh, I get it, or I see. And it's like an expression of understanding, and you might hear it a lot in anime, because for me, it's important for businesses. You just sometimes need that person who's going to plant the seed and explain something that is considered complex in a simpler way by breaking it down about the fundamentals of what is the problem, and then what do I want to achieve, and then how can we do it. So that's kind of the ethos in how I consult, and just trying to take away all the complexity and just look at the problem as it is, and just start chipping away at it and having the confidence to try something out and then iterate and optimize it over time, and accept that with technology and with solutions and strategies, they need to be ever evolving. And as much as we hate that, because uncertainty is our biggest avoidance as humans, kind of getting more comfortable with that, as even just as an individual, and being able to do that for customers is something that I'm really excited about, undertaking.
Yeah, that's really exciting, and absolutely love the name. Really great name. And yeah, we're really looking forward to following your journey with it all. It's definitely a growing space, and some real value you'll be able to add there to a lot of people, I'm sure. But thank you so much for coming along and sharing with us today. Really enjoyed hearing all of your insights and obviously getting to know you a little bit more as well.
Excellent. Thank you so much for having me.
Our absolute pleasure, Keirice. Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. I really like how you're talking about we need some more diverse voices in the world, and now's definitely the time to be creative and be sharing your unique ideas with your peers and with the rest of the market. So all the best with your new ventures, and thank you for all of your insights. And if anyone wants to look into Code Like a Girl and get into that programming and really focus on the technical side of things, or if you want to reach out to Keirice about anything she's spoken about as well, you can find her on LinkedIn, obviously the link above this podcast. But thank you again so much for joining us, and thank you for listening, everybody. And as always, stay safe, stay sane, and we'll see you on the next episode.